We all know that motorcycles these days are absolutely stuffed full of technology, but what you might not realise is that all the accoutrements of the sport, whether that be leathers and boots, gloves, and particularly helmets, are also brimming with the latest technology. There's a massive amount of R&D that goes into these things. And to give ourselves a little bit of an inside view, I've come here to Marseille in the south of France, and this is the headquarters of Shark. These boys shift around about 500,000 helmets a year. And believe it or not, they are also leaders in the technology of helmets. You've seen the likes of Zarco and Lorenzo with their aerodynamic lids. Well, this is where all that research gets done. Let's go inside. I'm going to speak to a guy by the name of Francois Berny, who's the man to know if you want to find out how Shark has got to be such a leader in the field. A very ordinary, unassuming building hides a group of people who are passionate about rider safety, love racing, and who all ride themselves. It all started back in the mid-1980s when two Frenchmen decided, after doing some racing themselves, that they were going to make super safe helmets. They've come a long way in the last 3 decades, and the list of riders that wear the Shark logo includes the likes of Jorge Lorenzo and French MotoGP madman Juan Zarco. As you might imagine, Shark has got a warehouse, and as you can see, it's a very, very big warehouse. And yet this is only for distribution of helmets close to southern France, so the Benelux countries into France. This is not worldwide, and generally there are somewhere between 30 and 50,000 helmets in here. Obviously the guys prefer it if there's only 30,000, it means they're selling more. From a big space to a small one, hidden away under a set of stairs, is an anonymous doorway to an Aladdin's cave of racing paraphernalia from some of the biggest names in racing. Well, we know we're being treated like special guests, thanks to Francois here, because I see I actually had to get a key out to let us into this room. So this is sort of the racing department, there you go. Not everyone gets to come in here, and you can see why it's like the ultimate man cave. Have a look around. I mean, talk about famous helmets. You've got Lorenzo here, Redding, all their leathers. A lot of them crashed, I have to say. Francois, what goes on here? Who is doing what in this office?
So that's it. You guys are VIPs visiting the racing department. Right here, Florian and Jean-Jacques are working full-time for the brand for racing, following the riders on the MotoGP and World Superbike circus, taking care of the helmets of the riders, drying up the internal paddings, taking care of the visors, checking after every crash or anything.
So how many helmets will a rider have at a race meeting? Does he take his own helmets, or do you guys take his helmets for him?
We bring, when we have new decos, we make them and we bring them, otherwise the rider can bring them with him. At the end of the weekend, it's in between 4 to 6 helmets per rider.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think of Shark as leathers. Well, they don't make leathers. However, the company itself has now got into leathers with a different kind of brand. Is that right?
Exactly. So the mission of the group is to improve the safety of the riders. The safety of the riders is not only to protect the head, it's to protect the full body. So Shark is a part of a group which is Shark, bearing, that we can see here. This is a bearing jacket.
And tell me, how many riders does Shark sponsor then in the different categories?
Globally, if we don't consider only MotoGP, Moto2, Moto3, BSB, World Superbike, etc., but globally, if we consider all competitions, Shark is sponsoring more than 170 riders in the world. It's a very important investment for the brand. It's not only about the visibility, it's a part of it, but it's also, as we've seen, to develop the safest helmets.
And okay.
So it brings back a lot of informations.
All that informations is learned the hard way, of course, when these sponsored guinea pigs headbutt various bits of scenery around some of the world's top circuits. Thankfully, all those headaches don't go to waste because the designers use the lessons learned on the track to make safer helmets for the road.
So this helmet is not a crash test. It's amazing. And we received this helmet in 2005, if I remember well, so it's almost 15 years ago, from a Belgian rider. And he said, "Thank you for saving my life." And this is, according to me, the most important testimony that we can receive, and the most important thank you we can receive. So the conditions of the crash were explained by the riders. So he was riding on the highway at 120 km an hour, and a car just went on the left side. He just wanted to avoid the car. He slid and he hit the rail at 190 to 100 km an hour.
Safety is always the major design concern, but it's not the only one. Lorenzo, you may recall, recently swapped mid-season to Shark helmets when he experienced, how shall we say, a number of race-spoiling issues with his previous supplier. He was apparently intrigued with the performance of the rear wing on the Race R Pro, as already seen on several riders, including Zarco. It's very effective at smoothing flow across the rider by forming a more integrated line with the hump of the leathers. It helps stability, but it also helps speed. After testing with Ducati at Mugello, Lorenzo was suitably impressed when he increased his top speed by over 4 km an hour. Top speeds on the bike might be good, but it's low speeds that are needed when you're trying to protect the brain.
The brain is evaluating in this kind of liquid. So when you hit there, the brain goes there and compresses right here. And then, like a ricochet, compresses right there. So the mission of the helmet will be to limit the force of the impact, not to protect the side of the where you hit. It's to protect the movement of the brain inside the skull.
I've been wearing Shark helmets for a good few years now, so it's been pretty cool to see where they all started their lives. If the likes of Lorenzo and Zarco are happy to do the R&D for me, I'm happy to reap the rewards.
Welcome back. Now, Matt, I have to say that before the break,
Yep.
that was a remarkably interesting and informative video.
You learned something about helmets thanks to me and Shark. Was that a compliment?
Well, yeah. Moving swiftly on. What I did like though was that
Yes.
that fin thing that they put on back of
Yes.
Lorenzo's helmet. How can that have that much effect?
Amazing, isn't it? At Mugello, 4 to 5 k's an hour, regular as clockwork. So yeah, Lorenzo was properly impressed, as you would be.
But now you've got a new Shark helmet.
I do, a Race R Pro Carbon 1. Lovely thing.
You don't have a fin on the back of yours.
No.
Why is that then?
Well, it looks stupid, especially if you can't get into a racing crouch like I can. So on the road, let's be fair, you wouldn't, would you?
Look,
No.
I want to get on to things that don't just benefit MotoGP riders. Let's get some interesting stuff for all helmet users. Let's
Yes.
just say now, I've got a friend of mine.
Yes.
He's got a helmet. It's about 30 years old and he washes it in a dishwasher.
What, the whole thing?
Yeah, he puts the whole thing in a dishwasher. Is that okay?
Is he called Charlie Cooper by any chance?
He might be.
Okay, let's move swiftly on. Actually, you do raise quite a good point because you should be cleaning your helmet. It's one of the things I learned. Sweat, not just to keep your helmet smelling nice when you put it on, but get
Yeah.
rid of the sweat, otherwise it really eats away at the interior of the helmet. And don't store it on a window shelf or anything. Keep it out of direct sunlight. And then you should get 5 to 7 years out of a helmet.
Really?
So yeah, don't hold on to it for too. It is your head after all. I mean, don't
It
skin
is your
but
head.
save.
Well, this is another interesting point which we didn't put in the film because we wanted to talk about it now. The people mounting like action
Yes.
cameras on their helmet. It's a complete no-no,
Yes,
isn't it?
Sharks say, look, they spend all this, many millions of euros R&D, work out how to make the helmet deform and spread all the pressure when you hit something with your bonds. And then obviously if you put a GoPro mount or something on any of the cameras, if you happen to hit your head on that part of the helmet, bad news. Really, really bad
it
news.
concentrates all the
on the
force
force.
in
Hang
one
on,
of
I
the
know
points.
in motorsport they've actually banned it. You may not have any mounts or anything on your helmet. It's
It
true.
makes
Well,
perfect
well,
sense.
what happened to Michael Schumacher?
Which we don't know for sure, but yes, absolutely.
That's the theory that's going around. So, and also, if the helmet was to drop off here onto the floor,
In theory, yeah, look,
replace it.
you
What?
should replace it, yeah. Look, I know we don't, but they do say if it drops
No,
off
hang on,
from that
hang on.
height, it will hit 37 k's an hour or something
Yeah.
before it hits the ground, and in theory, it could weaken it.
So every time you drop a helmet, you need to replace it.
Yes.
So you need to buy one every
Day.
day. Yeah, okay. So Don will be bankrupt
Oh.
soon. Okay, let's leave the helmets. Let's go and talk to Craig. Get fired up because, well, as always, he'll have something going on.